Hey friends, a few enemies. Welcome to Unpopular Opinion, and today's going to be different. In fact, this isn't really an unpopular opinion video. It's a legitimate movie review of a film that's still in theaters. I couldn't I couldn't not go over this movie on my channel, so let's jump right into this. By the way, I'm going to mention a lot of spoilers, so if you don't care or haven't seen the movie, I you've been warned. But I highly recommend you go see it first. A little backstory about myself. I'm a history fanatic. I love history. It's always been my best subject, and World War I is my favorite era of history. When I was in high school, every day, 30 minutes before class, I'd be in the history section of the library, reading book after gigantic book on World War I. So I think it's fair that I can call myself an expert on it. And when it comes to cinema, World War I never gets the attention it deserves. There aren't many movies about it, and that's because it's typically overshadowed by Vietnam and World War II. Your average citizen knows not much about the war, other than it came before the second one. So, when this came out, I was super excited, dropped everything, and dashed to the theater, and I loved it. If you were confused or didn't follow what was happening during the movie because you don't know much about the history, that's no problem. It takes place on the Western Front. The Western Front was an area of combat that took place in Belgium and France, west of Germany, hence Western Front. Combat on the Western Front was brutal and dominated by trench warfare. These interconnected trench systems spanned from the English Channel to the Swiss border. They were designed to protect soldiers from small arms fire and artillery. The only way to engage the enemy and capture objectives was to go over the top in a no man's land assault and try to overrun the opposing trench. No man's land was the open space between trenches where soldiers were vulnerable to machine gun fire and artillery. The defending trench would unleash machine gun fire, rifle fire, and inflict massive casualties. If and when the attacking army made it to their objective, what can only be described as medieval combat would ensue. Rifles were too big to maneuver in the small trenches, so savage hand-to-hand fighting occurred. Soldiers wielded shovels, knives, brass knuckles, and homemade melee weapons of barbaric nature. If the trench was captured, the small remaining force would have to hold it until reinforcements arrived, securing it. And these battles resulted in thousands of casualties on both sides, for only a small gain of territory. One of the worst examples was the Battle of the Somme. Only 6 miles was captured, and over 1 million casualties for both sides. Needless to say, it was a stalemate, with neither side getting the advantage over the other, and the front lines changed very little. Most of the combat casualties were caused by relentless artillery barrages. The big reason the war was conducted this way was because the weapons and technology advanced much faster than military strategy and tactics. Sorry about that, I got carried away. So the movie opens up, and that got me excited, because it says April 6, 1917. And the second I saw that, I immediately picked up the significance of that date. On April 6, 1917, the United States declared war on Germany, entering the conflict. So it starts with the two characters, Blake and Schofield. They report to their general and are briefed about the situation at the front. The German army has conducted a massive retreat. Actually, it's not a retreat, it's more of a tactical redeployment, and they move to the heavily fortified Hindenburg Line. The Allies think Germany is on its last leg and plans a massive push. However, it's a trap, and if they attack, they'll lose thousands. The general says they've lost all communication because the phone lines were damaged. They're given orders to hand-deliver a message ordering the 2nd Battalion to the Devonshire Regiment to stop the attack. They need to move miles across hostile territory. Now, what I like about this movie is this isn't just focused on battle or one section of the war. It's a quest that shows you the bigger picture and a wider scope of the fighting. I love war movies that do this, like Apocalypse Now and Saving Private Ryan. However, this is much more realistic because things like this really did happen. Phone communications were at a semi-primitive state and were easily compromised, meaning messages were delivered by hand or sometimes pigeon. And their journey was tense, exciting, and at times peaceful. From a cinematic standpoint, this was revolutionary. The movie was put together to give the audience the illusion it was filmed in one take. But it wasn't. It looks like it was in one take, and I love that. It was genius. It showed time progressing in a real way, and no jump cuts to skip anything, showing that nothing was unimportant during that war. It was like we were alongside them the whole time. And when they killed off Blake, that took me by surprise. It was genuinely shocking, and I didn't expect that. The performances were stellar, and the direction by Sam Mendes was the best. I love the historical accuracy of the movie. Anywhere from the combat and frontline portrayal to the soldiers' uniforms, the attention to detail was spot on, the props were accurate, and the sets were real and genuinely captured the feel of the trenches. The No Man's Land sequence was terrifyingly accurate. It captured the dread, fear, gloom, and absolute terror of it. From photographs of No Man's Land I've seen, the movie looks exactly like them. And this was pretty graphic. It was a graphic scene. But that's what really happened in the war. There'd be dead, decomposing, rotten corpses all over the place with maggots and rats eating them. And I like how the movie didn't shy away from that. They faced it head on. I think this movie did justice by showing the realities these men faced during the global tragedy. So those are my thoughts on 1917. I had to share it because World War I history is a passion, and I couldn't just keep it to myself. I implore you to see this movie. It's so moving, it's so touching. I literally started clapping when the credits rolled. I looked stupid and everyone looked at me thinking I was crazy, but it had to be done. So that's it, my friends. 1917. If you think I missed anything, comment below, let me know. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Unpopular Opinion.
There's only one way this ends.